I'm Rob.
I'm Nate.
And welcome back to Rob Nate Record a Podcast. This is week 2 of our Christmas movies. Do you call it a theme month?
Yeah, it's Christmas movies.
We decided that at some point we should do a Hallmark Christmas movie on the podcast. Mm-hmm. And tonight is that night.
It is.
So tonight we watched the 2017 TV movie, The Christmas Train, starring Dermot Mulroney, Kimberly Williams-Paisley, and Danny Glover, Joan Cusack.
Oh.
Yeah. Have you watched very many Hallmark Christmas movies before?
Not really. Bits and pieces more than anything.
I've watched some of the other, like, ABC Family ones. Melinda's roped me into watching a few of them. More recently, I've watched some of the Netflix ones. Yeah. They
exist.
They're very formulaic. Mm-hmm. My understanding is they're all fairly inexpensive to shoot. Mm-hmm. And
we were talking off podcast. You had a theory about how they were the modern day exploitation films.
Well, they're taking the model of the old exploitation films and applying them to a different genre. Mm-hmm. Make them fast and make them cheap, and occasionally one will be a big hit. Mm-hmm. So
people love these things.
Oh yeah, they do.
They make dozens of them a year.
Well, I can't remember if it was 4 or 6 that were funded to be shot in Utah this year. Mm. Hallmark shoots a lot of these in Utah, and now Netflix is also shooting them in Utah. Yeah, others are also shooting them here. I listened to another podcast where once a month the commissioner of the Utah Film Commission comes on and talks about what's being filmed in Utah. So, yeah. The plot of this movie, The Christmas Train, is a cynical journalist decides to take a train from Washington, D.C. to Los Angeles for Christmas to get inspiration for a story in honor of his late father. He gets to know the other passengers and runs into an old flame while aboard.
They really dropped that story in honor of his father. And that's barely in this.
They mentioned it at least halfway through. Because he brings it up again. Remember at the bar?
Yeah.
Yeah. In the implausibly large train car.
Yeah. So this is a bunch of people on train with various overlapping stories. I kept a log of characters and stories.
I'm just curious first, though, Nate. The critical question here. Mm-hmm. Did you see the clues for the twist in the story?
Well, there's kind of 2 twists in the story. There's who's stealing stuff. That was pretty easy to guess. And then there was the double twist at the end, and that was stupid.
I agree, but did you see it coming?
No.
Okay.
Because I wasn't paying enough attention. I didn't care enough to try to figure out how this Hallmark Christmas movie was going to try to weird me out at the end.
Yeah.
Try to fake me out.
We had a couple different approaches that we took to this. Do you want to go first, or you want me to?
So I was going to just kind of go over... And most of these people are no names. I don't even care about that. The character names are the name of the actors. But we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. About 8 different storylines going on to one degree or another. So our primary storyline is with our leads, Dermot Mulroney and Kimberly Williams-Paisley. They had been foreign correspondents together, war correspondents for like 6 years. And they were in love. And she started thinking... He's taking all these risks. He's getting kidnapped. He's almost getting killed. I want a defense and a family. I'm going to have to leave. Says, you need to leave and we need to leave. And he's like, what the heck? I'm happy being a correspondent. And so she leaves, ends up as a script doctor working for Danny Glover, who apparently directs Christmas movies.
As a character named Max Power.
Max Power Production. And he eventually leaves the foreign corresponding to write articles about memory foam and his and her closets and various household stuff. These are weird career trajectories for these two. They were very close. They end up on the same train. Him to write the story in honor of his father. Her to work with Danny Glover on a script. And they decided to take the Long Christmas Train for inspiration. And it's will they, won't they? Of course they will. Rekindle their love story. So that is our principal story is the writers. Secondary stories include the young couple that are going to get married on the train, and we eventually figure out why there's some inconsistencies in their story. He's going to be disinherited for marrying this poor Kentucky small-town girl, and Dermot Mulroney and Kimberly Williams-Paisley want to help them out. There's the John McCain widower guy with the copy of A Christmas Carol, who's sad because his wife died. There's Max Power's various goings-on, which also ropes into the girl that Dermot Mulroney is seeing, who surprises him halfway through on the train. He wants to break up with her. She's under the impression that they need to get married. We've got Joan Cusack as the magical woman Agnes. I kept saying she was going to be magical. She wasn't magical. I was a little disappointed. But she seems to be this presence that's always on the train and knows stuff. We do eventually find out why she knows stuff. We have the psychic, who's barely in the thing. We have the retired conductor who wants to get working again and helps the train anticipate and get around a snowstorm, an avalanche from a snowstorm in the Rockies. We've got the conductor lady and the kids going to the Christmas concert. And we've got the bartender, who's corny as hell. So we've got all these little fluffy little stories. Apart from each other, they're of no consequence, but when combined, they're also of no consequence.
Except none of them even matter because they're all manufactured.
Only half of them are manufactured.
No?
Because he says at the end. So it turns out that Max Power of Max Power Productions is making a Max Power production. He figured out they were going to be on the same train. He figured out their past somehow. And he hired actors to manipulate them together. But only some of them. The couple, the young couple, the psychic, they were hired. But old widower John McCain was real. Joan Cusack, who turns out to be, spoiler, a train marshal as opposed to an air marshal, she was real. Bartender was real. Conductor lady, the kids were real. Just really those three minor sporting characters were.
Do you want to know what the best part of this episode is so far?
What? That I've analyzed this so much?
No. That you put the spoiler warning on the fact that Joan Cusack's character... Not on the plot twist.
No. Well, that was a bigger surprise than the plot twist. See, I was so invested in Joan Cusack being an angel or a ghost or something that was what I was waiting to... What's her deal?
So you were also keeping track of tropes?
Yeah, I wrote down some tropes. Obviously, we got snow. The very beginning of the movie, the radio comes on and say, blah, 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 Michael Bublé. Michael Bublé song. Again, I thought magical character from Joan Cusack. That didn't turn out to be the case. We got various meet-cutes and romantic banters. Dueling letters. They're both writing at the same time, and they're having a discourse, but they're not really having a discourse. Yeah, just that kind of stuff.
And we kind of switched what movie we were watching tonight last minute, but one of the things that we had intended to do was to play Hallmark Christmas movie bingo.
Dickensian Christmas carols.
Oh, that's right.
That was
Carolers. Yeah. So I just wanted to read some of the squares off of Hallmark Christmas movie bingo cards, and I would suggest to other male watchers of these that you might want to consider having a Hallmark Christmas movie bingo card, because it might make these a little bit more fun. So here's some examples of squares on those. Someone else has a crush on the love interest, a crisis at work, eggnog, an actor from a TV series, kids that need help with something.
Yeah, I had that.
A big city boyfriend.
Kind of, yeah, the fake couple.
From DC.
Yeah.
Yeah. A concerned parent or grandparent.
Well, kind of.
The parents that didn't want him to get married.
And Air Marshal Cusack's reuniting with her son at the end.
A tree lighting. We did not have one of those in this movie. Shopping for a Christmas tree.
No, but they shop and buy Christmas ornaments.
Yes. A family heirloom. We had a couple, actually. We had the necklace. We also had the rings.
Yes.
Talking about someone who is dead.
My wife, Ruth.
Yep. Mistletoe. Which we only actually had the...
Holly,
yeah. Sentimental Gift.
Yeah.
The Rings. Main character welcomed home by old acquaintance. Not really home, but on the train. Mm-hmm. A visit to a coffee shop, bakery, or restaurant.
Oh, well, we were ripped off. There were none of those. They do crash a wedding.
Yeah. Someone reveals their dream job. His girlfriend wants to work for Max Powers.
Ah, yes.
A Christmas party.
Yeah,
we saw that. Love interest is a widow. Not the love interest, but we did have a widow or a widower. Strolling through town. We had strolling through the train station. Chicago. Children in Christmas costumes. We had that. Baked goods.
I don't recall baked goods.
Nope. Telling a story about childhood. We had a few of those. Love interest kiss, of course. Mm-hmm. Driving down snowy roads.
No.
We
Snowy
had the
train.
We had the sleigh.
We had the sleigh. The sleigh was, they worked that thing at the end.
Someone is scheming.
Yeah.
Someone is wearing flannel. Pretty sure we saw flannel, but I'm not positive.
The guy that had the sleigh. He was wearing flannel.
Yeah, so these are just some examples, but you get the gist. These are common enough tropes. But this was intended, Nate, to represent a genre for us tonight. Mm-hmm. What do you make of this genre so far?
It's really not my thing. I watched one with Monica Kenya last year because it's just like I want to watch one, and I watched like a Lifetime one from like 2006. I'm like, that's fine. One a year does me.
I think we actually picked the wrong one.
I feel like we kind of did too because when I think of these, it's got to be about saving something in a small town. There was no small town. There's no coffee shops. There weren't enough kids. This is kind of a little off the beaten track Hallmark Christmas movie.
I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but we watched a couple from Netflix last year, and honestly, the Netflix ones were better than this. Mm. And the Netflix one that I've already watched this year, the Falling for Christmas with Lindsay Lohan, was better than this. Mm.
Our two main characters are writers. They're both like to talk to each other about how good writers one another is, which you shouldn't do in this movie because it reminds the viewer how poorly written this is.
I was disappointed that I didn't like this more because I really like Kimberly Williams-Paisley.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, and this just isn't. This is barely serviceable.
This is bad. This is a bad movie.
Yeah. So
it's cheesy and the dialogue's bad and it's just cliche ridden. And it's not even really trying very hard.
I don't necessarily mind it being cliche-ridden if they're executed well. I just didn't feel like it was well executed in this particular instance.
I mean, it had almost a dozen stories going on, and none of them really resonated.
Yeah. Well, and that's in large part because they just don't matter. But
yeah.
Yeah. This was written or directed by Ron Oliver, who has made a bunch of these Christmas movies, including A Timeless Christmas, Housewives of the North Pole, Hotel for the Holidays, which is apparently one that's coming out later this year, Christmas at the Plaza, Christmas Everlasting. Yeah, he's made a bunch of those.
I would highly recommend look up Ron Oliver to see his picture on IMDb. It's pretty great.
He kind of looks like Dana Carvey in Masters of
Disguise. He's the freaking turtle man from Masters of Disguise.
This was written by what I assume is a couple, Neil Dabrowski and Tippi Dabrowski, who have, again, also done a bunch of these Christmas movies.
Better have written this on a train in which they rekindled their love for each other.
Yeah.
And just make it mega meta.
So they've written this, the Housewives of the North Pole, Love in Winterland, Right Before Christmas, Holiday in the Wild, which is one that was on Netflix and stars Kristen Davis
and Rob Lowe.
Yeah. That's a Netflix one that was better than this. Mm. Some quick trivia.
Okay.
Dermot Mulroney and Joan Cusack have appeared and guest starred on Shameless from 2011.
Wow.
The age gaps between the main actors that were or are involved with each other are Dermot Mulroney is 8 years older than Kimberly Williams-Paisley and 16 years older than Holly Elisa, who played his actual girlfriend in this. This movie marks the third time Dermot Mulroney and Danny Glover have appeared together. Do you know it?
No.
The other two? Angels in the Outfield from 1994.
Okay, yeah.
And Dirty Grandpa from 2016.
Dirty Grandpa.
This one might be a little bit of a stretch, but it says Max, which is Danny Glover's character, discusses being put on trains by his dad with Tom, and then mentions having had a partner. Danny Glover played a serial killer that had been a railroad man in Switchback from 1997, and he is well known for being Mel Gibson's partner in the Lethal Weapon series.
I really think Mel Gibson's presence would have added something to this. Something crazy. Because I kept hoping for somebody on this plane has got to be a killer, right? It's like, we need this complication. We need a murder on this express.
Yeah. This has an aggregate score on IMDb of 6.4 stars. Nate, how would you rate this movie?
1.5 stars, 3 on the 10-star scale.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah. I would give this a 4 on the 10-star scale. And probably I don't know, to me that's a 1 on the 4-star scale, but not great. Didn't particularly enjoy it. Again, there's better versions of this out there.
You like the leads enough. The leads get you through it. Everything else, and trying to figure out what the heck is going on with John Cusack. Those were the things that kind of kept what interest I had, but everything else was just silly, recycled. This is a lazy movie. You mentioned there was only one filming location. They go all across the country, but that train is on a set.
It's not on a set.
What?
It is the Pacific Central train station in Vancouver, British... Yeah, but they're calling it the Chicago train station. Oh, it's called Vancouver Pacific Central, but it's the Pacific Central station.
Okay.
So.
But the train.
But it is in Vancouver.
But the train's not a train.
It's the station.
So they filmed it in the station.
Yes.
Obviously, there's multiple station scenes. It makes sense that they'd be filmed in the
Though
station.
they showed the same set of doors like 6 times. Mm-hmm. The train station doors.
But the train, is that on a studio somewhere in Vancouver, or is that
there's
some empty spots in the
everything
the
was filmed in the station. So I don't know if they filmed on an empty train in the station yard, or if those were just rooms in the station. Mm. But that every time that they get off the train to go do something, that's the central courtyard of the station, just redecorated. Mm. Only one filming location, no studio filming. Because you can't switch locations if you're going to film fast and cheap.
Yeah. The Christmas train was lame. Don't see it.
If there's nothing else, I'm Rob.
I'm Nate.
And this is Rob and Nate Record a Podcast.
It's working now?
Yeah.
It's recording?
I believe so.
Dude.
I'm seeing waveforms.
Oh.
Now, am I leveled?
Waving at the microphone doesn't create waveforms. Who'd have thunk it?
Well, technically it does because it's, light.
Tiny little
but they're not the ones that are being recorded at this particular moment in time.
From the makers of the Hanukkah bus and the Kwanzaa ferry boat comes a Christmas train. The Christmas train. There's only one. Singular phenomenon. Dollar Store Polar Express.
You've been sticking with that one for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm Rob.
I would be Nate.
And welcome back to Rob and Nate Watch a Chick Flick.
Indeed.
Brain fart. And for Jackson Irish, once again, it's 10 o'clock at night and yet Nate is yelling in my loft. I really enjoyed that where the spoiler warning came in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you spoil a Hallmark Christmas movie? Has there ever been a Hallmark Christmas movie that ended with the couple not together and people alone and sad and in pain or dead?
Well, but that's not the point. Like, the point is to spot the twist along the way. Mm-hmm. And so, like, the Max Powers, that he's arranged this whole thing, that's the major plot twist. But you missed some of the warning signs. So, remember when the young couple, he's at the bar and he's like, I'm going to pay for the thing. And it's like, oh, you're an actor.
Yeah, I mentioned that because it's like, what, you have an Actors Guild card? Yeah, I was in a commercial when I was a kid. I was pudding. I'm like, pudding? Pudding?
Also, you only
Why
get
are they
to
bringing
keep
up
your
the
card.
pudding?
Plus, you only get to keep your card if you act a certain amount. And if you go a certain number of years without acting, you lose your card.
And she, the girl, was saying, "Oh, my grandparents were married on a train."
My parents.
My parents. I thought you said your grandparents. Oh, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
It's like there's something wasn't adding up.
Fun. You got a ad placement for us tonight?
Brought to you
by Amtrak.
By Amtrak. The Directors Guild of America Lazy Division.
So, kind of one of the things I was trying to answer for myself in watching more of these types of movies this year is, are they any less valid of a form of filmmaking?
Yes.
I kind of go back and forth, and I think I'm going to end up settling on some of them are, some of them aren't. You know, because some of them are okay. And, like, there is other crap movies that are pumped out that are every bit as bad, if not exponentially worse. And some of these are far more decent than some of the other crap that gets pumped out, especially on some of the streaming services, like that Megan Fox one that I sent you a review of a while ago.
Yeah.
That one was just terrible. Like some of these are much better than that. So I don't know, but ones like this, no, it's not. It's not. So I kind of wonder if it's not like Netflix versus Hallmark. Like, yeah, who's making it?
Oh.
I guess I need to check a Lifetime one off my list this year.
I don't know.